A very good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this press conference with Jonathan Trott. As usual, I'd just like to remind everybody on our Zoom audience to please ensure that your monitors are muted and to raise your hand if you'd like to ask a question. We'll start with whoever would like to get started on the floor.
Jonathan, can you sum up your emotion after that? There's a bit mixed feelings about getting so close but not quite getting over the line in the end, or?
Yeah, certainly. I think it was a good game to watch for the neutral, and I think it showed the skill and the talent of the players we have got, but also the sometimes the situation awareness that we lack it in parts, and I think we saw it against Sri Lanka. We've seen it again tonight. I think against England played really well and didn't allow us to get it away really. So yeah, I think the bowling was really good tonight. A few things as well. I think you always come away from a T20 game with, you always want a little bit more. It's a type of game where it ebbs and flows the momentum of a game. So that certainly happened tonight. And the more often we can get those things going in our favour, we certainly have the capability to do so. And the more consistent we'll become as a side. So that's how I feel. And going forward, that's hopefully the approach that we can, and something we can conquer.
Can I just quickly ask about Rashid Khan's innings? I mean, he's renowned here with the ball, and he's done it with the bat in the BBL, but to do it on that stage, just your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I said yesterday, we had training yesterday, and I said, welcome to the home of Rashid Khan. So, thank you for having us to Rash, and, he's been great, throughout the tournament. The sort of the fall that he had at the end of last game, and I remember speaking to him and he said, there's no chance of missing this game, I'm playing 100%. So that's the type of character he is, and that's the type of characters we want in the side. Well, certainly sides that I coach that I'd love to have, and not only, obviously he's very talented, very skillful, but his attitude and his work ethic is second to none, and a great example to all players around the world, not only the Afghan boys. So credit to him, and he deserves everything he gets.
Just a couple of further ones on Rashid. Is there a case for him batting up further in the order, do you think, at certain times in certain situations?
Yeah, I think so. I also think that there's other batsmen in the side who need to start taking responsibility for their inningses and with the responsibility that they're charged with. That's all I'd say on that. There's times that players need to stand up and accept the pressure that comes with playing international cricket, and you need to perform better.
And there was certainly a fair bit of talk online and around the traps once the first innings had finished about Australia needing to restrict Afghanistan to, I think it was 108 runs, or to get ahead of England on the net run rate. Do you think that perhaps there's still a bit of underestimating Afghanistan and how well they could do? Because forget net run rate, they were, came ever so close to beating Australia. Well,
I'd love every team we play against to underestimate us, to be honest, because we certainly can surprise people like we did then. We can have parts of games that we play really well in. So I wasn't sure what the whole equation was. I wasn't really focused on Australia's needs. I was more worried about how we were going to go and knock off those runs. So, and that never. And we actually, to be honest, we spoke about their intent and needing to do it, but we never spoke about specific. They said be aware of how Australia are going to play, what they need to do. And it would have been nice to get across the line tonight, especially with chasing as well. I think we sometimes in history with regards to the way that Afghanistan played batting first has always been their way, and then throw the ball to their spinners and they accept the pressure. I think we need to become a better rounded side where we're able to chase and also set targets better. So that's something to certainly work on going forward.
Jonathan, I know they had a couple of injuries coming in, but was that the Australian 11 that you were expecting, or was it a little bit of a surprise?
No, a little bit of a surprise to us. We heard there were rumours, but you don't know. You never really want to or sort of preempt or suggest injuries. Certainly, to the likes of Finch. You don't know the extent of the injuries, so you don't want to sort of presume, but so you prepare for any inevitability. So we thought Green would open the batting if Finch was injured, because he had done that previously and done pretty well. And obviously we knew Steve Smith is such a dangerous player, so we prepared for him as well. And then Richardson as well. We're not quite sure why Stark didn't play, but Richardson came in and replaced Stark, so we had to adjust to that a little bit as well.
Jonathan, you learnt your cricket in proper structures, going up around every time, and now your first big coaching assignment is a team, which is like the complete opposite, and they can't even go home, where they're staying somewhere else. How do you just look back at this journey, having taken up 5 months ago?
I look at it and I realized how fortunate and privileged I was growing up also as well, not just playing for England, but growing up in a country where sport is so well catered for and encouraged, and as a way of life, really. So to see these guys and hear a few stories about their backgrounds and growing up and the things they've had to overcome and areas they've come from, and to get to be here in Adelaide playing under the bright lights in front of just over 18,000 people on a worldwide audience, sometimes it would be lost on some people, but for me it's certainly not lost at all, the journey that some of the players had to come here. So there are things that perhaps could be better with regards to structure wise, but as far as players, I don't have an issue at all with any of the way that the players go about. So it's my job as coach also to educate them about how they're going to become better players, and having played with the world's best or played against them and seen the traits that they have, try and impart a bit of knowledge and something that can help them become better players themselves, and really become players or people as well, just as importantly, that the Afghan public can be really proud of.
Any stories or conversations that stick with you that you don't mind sharing?
I don't think it'd be right for me to share those stories here, if I'm at all honest with you. A lot of those are private, and I don't know how comfortable individuals would be with me sharing those sorts of things, the things that I've learned or the things that I've spoken about with them.
That's fair enough. Just the challenges of putting together a team, training them as a team when there's no home base. How would you?
There's no challenges to that with regards to training them. What I want to do is empower the players more to think for themselves, and as soon as they start thinking for themselves a little bit more, they'll be able to handle pressure situations, I think, more naturally, and they will be able to go on and then dictate the pace of play, or dictate the sort of themselves, or impose themselves, I should rather say, on the opposition. I think that's the one challenge I have noticed and would like the players to get better at, is taking ownership of their own game and coming to the coaches and saying, well, this is what I want to work on, not the coaches going to the players, as much as I think has happened in age group cricket perhaps in Afghanistan, or coming through the ranks.
One more on the floor before we move on to Zoom.
Jonathan,
Hey. Hi, man.
You sounded just a touch surprised that Mitchell Starc didn't play, and Afghanistan really targeted Kane Richardson as well. I was just wondering, did you think that Richardson was a more favourable matchup, and was there a deliberate targeting of him because he was by far the most expensive of Australia's bowlers?
We thought Starc was going to play. We prepared for that, and obviously we saw Richardson marking his run-up out, and so that was a real surprise for us. We don't know any reason. We respect every player that we play against. So I don't think there was any targeting at all of Richardson. We know he's a very, very good bowler. But that happens in T20 cricket. Some bowlers always go for a little bit more than others. Some have an outstanding day and can sometimes win you the game. I think they played him really well, and hopefully they can take a lot of confidence from it.
We'll move over to Zoom, starting with Dean Wilson.
Hi, Trotty. Unlucky today. Obviously, your only concern was the performance of Afghanistan throughout, but now that the game is done, the result has made things very straightforward for England tomorrow. They just need to win their game against Sri Lanka in order to qualify for the semi-finals. Is that a happy byproduct of this result?
Bittersweet. Yeah, I think obviously I was focused on this game tonight wholeheartedly, and anything that comes good of that, you know, I would have liked us to have had a win and then, you know, made it a lot clearer. But, you know, England are a very good side, and I think they're more than capable of dealing with their own future, however that happens. So, you know, good luck to them. Wish them well.
Thank you.
Amitava?
Hi, Jonathan. This is Amitava from Creekview, India. Afghanistan actually played only 3 matches in this group stage, 2 matches being washed out. So you had a big gap, almost 10 days or so after the England match. So how much that did affect your momentum of your team?
Well, yes, especially after you've lost the way we did against England, and we certainly made it quite tough for them as well. But if we'd had a few more runs, so you always want to, you know, get back on the horse if you like. And a game against New Zealand would have been a great challenge. But I also think the spectacle of playing at the MCG for these guys and the occasion of it all, you know, to have 2 washouts at such a fantastic ground is a real tragedy. So, you know, these things happen. Certainly the game against Ireland was one that we would love to have played and would have been a good battle, because we played a bit of cricket against them in the last few years. So the teams know each other really well. So that's bitterly disappointing. And the New Zealand one would have been good, because it's always good to test yourself against the best, but like tonight.
And we'll close off with Irfan.
Hi, coach. My question is that fast bowler does the job for Afghanistan in bowling department. Do you think if we include another fast bowler like Salim Safi, maybe the result in favor of Afghanistan?
Yeah, I think they bowled really well. I think Naveen came in and showed his skill, and Faisal as well. I think Faisal's bowled pretty well throughout the series. I think with the way that our makeup is and the amount of all-rounders that we have, it's pretty difficult to get another seamer in there without weakening our batting too much. So it's always nice to sit here with hindsight and say this and that. But you know, we gave it our all tonight, and not everything's going to go your way for every single bowler. We had a chance to win tonight, and we should have taken it. It's nothing to do with the bowlers at all.
And on that note, thank you very much for joining us this evening, and thank you, Coach.
Thanks.
We'll be joined by